Thank you guys for that welcome. I'm so glad to be here. Okay, I feel a little loud. Okay, that is so much better. Thank you very much. Okay, so tonight I would like to talk to you about the power of trust. I feel like right now we're learning a lot of things about how to relate to one another. We're learning a lot of things about how to host a culture of honor and what that means to build really powerful, meaningful relationships. And one thing I've actually noticed a lot recently is that a lot of people, I ask them, do you have an inner circle of people that you trust, that you can talk to? And a lot of people are saying, no, I don't. I don't have anybody that I'm in connection with that I can really trust and really talk to about anything and feel supported in. So I was like, wow, that's something God really is showing us and teaching us how to do well. Something that a lot of us didn't grow up learning how to do well. I didn't know how to do this. So this had to become something very intentional in my life, because don't you look at people like really powerful, mature people who have really close relationships, and you're like, oh, I wish I could have that. You know, you see Bill Johnson and Chris Vallotton and Danny Silk, and they're like so tight and doing so many amazing, powerful things in the kingdom. And you're like, that's really something that is so attractive to us. And we want that. But sometimes we don't know even how to get there, like how to do that. What path to take to build those kinds of relationships. It just kind of feels sometimes daunting and overwhelming, and we just say, oh, it's not for me. We look at certain groups of people and we want to be there instead of realizing I can actually create that. I can actually begin to create that. Instead of feeling rejected, oh, they don't want me, I can begin to create that. Those kind of tight circles. So tonight we're going to talk about some keys of how to build that, and how you can actually be on your way to building powerful relationships of trust, that inner circle of safe people. So, what is trust? There's like a lot of these words like faith, hope, it's like trust. What does it actually really mean to have trust in somebody? So I was thinking about it, and I was like, trust really, when it comes down to its core, like there's a lot of things it can mean. It means like you are who you really are with me. You're not faking, you're not deceiving, you're not harming me. But in its core is somebody that's trustworthy. They actually are somebody who know how to take care of you and your needs. They know how to keep you safe, because safety is a need. They know how to be authentic, because authentic is a need. They know how to take care of you. They know how to take care of me. They become somebody we feel safe and actually like to be around. So that's something a lot of times we grew up with mindsets of protecting ourselves and didn't even get our feet off the ground and building real relationships of trust, because we were always waiting for the other shoe to drop. We're always waiting for, oh, I see they're fake. You know, I see they're going to let me down. So we never even got off the ground with it in some ways. So how is trust actually built? So if you want to be a person, if you say, I really want to become a person that people can trust, and I would be welcomed into people's inner circles, we have to be intentional and actually be something that is safe, to be that close to other people. Trust is built by repeated success. So say you want to just start by, I would like to be trusted to be a greeter. Something maybe kind of small. I would like people to just trust me that I'm a person that they can count on to make people feel welcome in this house. So repeated what success would look like, you know what? I'm deciding that every Sunday morning when I come to church, I'm going to come with a full measure. I'm going to come happy. I'm going to come joyful. I'm going to come ready to pour out and give. I'm going to come excited. Like, I really love those movies. Do you ever watch those movies sometimes where people in the movie are like really excited? Like, and it's so sweet. Like, it's actually really awesome. Like, any of you watched the movie The Help? When the girl hires a maid for the first time, and the girl she's going to hire as a maid is walking up to her front step, and she just starts, like, jumping up and down and smiling and, like, freaking out because she's, like, going to hire her first maid. And it just makes you, like, you watch these people with these, like, exuberantly joyful expressions on their face, and it makes you feel so happy. So if you want to be a person that's known as this house, as a greeter and a lover of people, you come and you see somebody and you go, Anna, hi. Linda, hi. Come here. And that right away, it starts building trust. Because everybody needs to feel like they belong. So that starts pouring into people their need to belong. The other way that we start building trust is how we clean up our messes. So as much as we're trying to do repeated success, I try to show up happy. I try to show up, do the right thing. I'm trying. Every once in a while, we'll do something off, and every once in a while we'll do something that's like, okay, what was that? Right? Every once in a while, okay? So how we clean up, we make a mess. Maybe we hurt somebody's feelings. So how we clean up our mess actually builds trust. So you don't have to be perfect all the time to build trust, but the times that we make a mess and we do hurt somebody's feelings, or we do make somebody feel not safe around us, how we clean that up will actually build more trust with that person and with everybody around us when they see how we take care of that. So like, for example, if you miss somebody's birthday that's close to you and you just totally forgot their birthday, your best friend, your spouse, somebody, so you could either try and be like, well, you know, I've been so busy because all the stuff you're making me do, of course I forgot your birthday. Or you could say, you know what, I can totally understand. That's something that's important to you, that I would remember you and celebrate you on your birthday. I am so sorry. And then for the next 60 days, every day you celebrate them in a really special way. That's like an example of a really good way of cleaning up our messes. For example, Peter in the Bible, he cleaned up his mess really well. He didn't just say, well, I was just exhausted. That's why I denied you 3 times. So like, what, my brain, I was out of my brain. I was so tired, stressed out. He said he was repentant, totally repentant. And he actually didn't just say, okay, well, I'm just going to make sure I don't do that again, and I'll count to 10 the next time before I talk, so I don't get in trouble again. He actually stayed himself, and he was the first one to start preaching after Pentecost. When the Spirit of God fell on them as they were waiting, he's the one who took charge. He was their verbal processor who always was there to take charge of stuff. And he still was himself. He still said, I'm going for stuff. But he now knew he needed to adjust his heart and be on fire for God instead of ashamed and pull back. So when we clean up our messes, when we say, you know what, I did that wrong, but from now on, I'm going to actually add extra gusto to doing it right. People then will start really trusting you. They'll want you to be a part. And they'll see you as an asset to what they're doing. If there's a ministry or something they're doing, they'll want you on their team. Because they'll see you all gusto for what you're learning to do. So tonight we're going to talk about some things that can make us really feel like we're on a path to success. Really on a path to building really, really good relationships. So who are we building trust with? Who would you like to build trust with? Maybe your family members, maybe your friends, maybe people at church. It can be like anybody who you feel like, hey, I would really like them to trust me and feel like I'm a safe person for them to be around. So there's a verse in the Bible that you're really, really probably familiar with, Proverbs 3. Verse 5 through 8, and my media team has it on the big screen for us. So I want to kind of take a look at this because it has some really interesting keys for us in trusting. So the first word in verse 5 is what? Trust. Trust in the Lord with all of your heart and lean not unto your own understanding. Okay, so that means that everything that we come up with isn't always the right answer. That's the bad news of the day. There's good news coming. Okay, next one. And in all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight. So that means if he gives us the better idea of how to do something, we'll say yes to it. Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and shun evil. So we have to really be humble and realize that other people are going to be able to show us better ways to do it and stay away from sin. Okay, in this verse I really want to take a look at. And all of this will bring health to your body and nourishment to your bones. And what's amazing about this verse is that verse body is not used anywhere else in the Bible, and it actually means your navel. It actually could mean your belly button. But what that means is where our gut represents what? All of our stuff happens in our gut. All our emotions, our feelings are processed out of our gut. Can you keep that up for a second? And nourishment, which actually means drinking like a refreshment, to your bones. And bones, in your bone marrow, that's where all of your new cells are created. All your red blood cells, your white blood cells, platelets, they all are created out of the inside of your bones. So what amazing picture. If you trust the Lord with all of your heart and all your ways, make him a part of it intimately. Make him a part of what you're doing. Ask him what he thinks about it. It will be health to your stomach, nourishment to your bones and your bone marrow. Did you know if you don't have healthy bone marrow, the cells in your body will start dying? It's so important. When the Bible talks about like life to your bones, the dry bones, like that's a really powerful word picture. The life, there's so much life inside of our bones. But that's God's promise, that we will feel healthy. It actually feels really unhealthy to not have people to trust. We're not created to live without people that feel really close to us and feel really safe. We actually begin to just dry up in our spirits and our souls, and it feels really lonely and it feels really sad. And so God says, I have trust for you. He wants us to learn how to trust him. He wants us to learn how to trust each other. And he wants us actually to learn how to, this sounds really weird, he wants us to learn how to trust ourselves. Not in the sense of, oh, I don't need input, I got all the right answers, but in the sense of, I trust that I can make good decisions with the Lord. I trust that my first good decision is to commit my ways to the Lord. But I can actually I know how to process with God in really healthy ways to make good decisions. Yeah. A lot of people don't actually even trust themselves, and it's not a healthy thing. They're always doubting, always second guessing. It causes a lot of insecurity. So we have a fun illustration of, we're going to go to the ladder illustration if we could. Thank you, Ryan. So we're going to talk about, there's something that they call the trust ladder. There's a lot of different versions of this out there. I kind of made my own version. But it actually gives us clear steps and a pathway how to build a really healthy lifetime relationship. Dating, this is actually, what we're going to learn on this ladder is actually very helpful in dating. If you use these steps, you will find a really amazing life partner. Sometimes we don't even know how to date well or how to pursue like what people are going to be good for us to build these kind of relationships with. And in dating, sometimes we're actually afraid. Anybody in here want to date? Sometimes we're actually afraid to date because we're like, I only want to date somebody if they're going to become the person I actually end up marrying, because I don't want it to be weird and awkward if we end up not getting married. But if you use these tools, you would actually be safe to date somebody and not marry them, and it would still be okay. Because anytime we say, if I'm going to date this person, I'm going to leave them better off than they were before. How good is that? How good if that husband they actually would marry would say, thank you for dating her because you made her into a really awesome, powerful woman. Thank you for what you poured into her. Because that's a whole nother way of looking at it. Not taking anything out of a relationship that might belong to somebody else. If you don't know for sure that belongs to you, then you don't take it. And you make them better than they were before. And we can learn a lot about each other in community. But if you do decide to date somebody, that you always, before anything you do, anything you say, is this going to make him or her a better person? Is this going to make them better? Am I taking away anything that doesn't belong to me? And there's like no anxiety. You know, if this doesn't work out, it's okay. We just both became better, awesomer people. So on the first prong of the ladder is, can we be friends? So in any relationship, dating, not, even with God, even with yourself, because it's asking yourself the questions, can we have fun together? And can I share how I'm doing with this person? And you might actually have to start these questions asking them to yourself, because maybe you've actually not been very kind to yourself. Maybe you've actually not really been kind to God. Maybe you've never known you can have fun with God and just be real with him. So you can say in your relationship with God, God, can we be friends? Can I just enjoy being with you? Can I come to small group and growth group and feel like these people are my friends? Because if the answer is no, then there's something that you need to really look at. Maybe you're still holding on to wounds, bitterness from past relationships. Maybe you still don't know who you are and you really need to work intentionally at your identity. But just say, hey, can we be friends? That's kind of where relationships start. Do I feel like laughing? Do I laugh when I'm around you? And then the next question is, do I feel safe? So do I feel safe is that question that kind of brings up some more stuff like protecting boundaries. So anyone you start getting closer with, and anybody who starts getting closer to you, it's really important that we start understanding boundaries. So I want to protect my boundaries, and I also want to protect your boundaries. Even if they're different. Were you ever around somebody who had really strict boundaries and you're like, that's weird. I don't think you need to do that boundary. That's dishonoring. If you're building trust with somebody and they have a boundary, if you think it's really off, then you need to start having conversations with them. But you can't violate that boundary until they come to a point where they want to change that boundary. But if somebody has a boundary, then it's really important that we respect that so that they'll feel safe with us. Another prong. Do our core values line up? We've been talking about core values so much lately. So obviously, if we're building really inner core friends, everybody's loved and accepted and belongs, right? But we're talking about if you really want to start building that inner core group of safe covenant friends, then it's time to start talking about, like, do we have the same core values? Do we both really, if in ministry and being at church is really important to me, it's going to be really hard for me to have a really high, vulnerable, close relationship with somebody who's not very interested in ministry and church and what God's doing in the kingdom. I can love them. I can totally be a fan of theirs. But to really build something close, the people I need them to speak into my life, we have to have a lot of the same. We need to have core values that are the same. Next one. Is God in the God spot? So you have a God spot, a really cool God spot. And so as we're going along, building a relationship with people and having a good time, it's really important to have these conversations of, is God really number one in our lives? And what that means is, can the other person and can I get comfort and get answers from God, not just from each other? Because if we're the ones who always have to fill comfort, excitement, always have to get that from each other, that weight is going to start it's just going to start pulling, and it's too much weight for any person. It gets exhausting. So you have to, both people, as you're going up that ladder, need to know God is in the God spot. And that person, if you are having a day where it's like, today I need to spend some time with God, and the other person's like, but I'm feeling so sad, that they can go to God too by themselves and get their needs met and get comfort, where we're not only dependent on each other, but the other person knows how to get their needs met from God as well. Really important. Because a lot of times we just want to pull on each other. And so we're like drained and exhausted. But God, knowing that other person really knows how to process with God and get their needs met from God. Next one, are we going the same place? So, I know that one's like kind of tough because maybe not always be in the same physical place, but at least your mindset and your heart has the same passions, because when you have the same heart and the same passions, you can really speak into each other's lives and build that tight bond. So somebody who wants to do prophetic ice fishing in Iceland, and you're like, I'm called here in New Jersey. You can love them. You can really have great catch-up meetings with them, but it's going to be really hard to build a tight bond with somebody you're not even physically ever around. Those really, really tight bonds. And do we know how to take care of each other? So this isn't contradictory to the God spot rung, but it's actually very complementary. Because as we're learning how to really love each other well, we also have to know how to take care of each other well. And know what that means to the other person. The people that are closest to you, do you know what their love languages are? Do you know if the tone of your voice hurts them? If certain tones of your voice break connection with them? Do you know what they really love to do and what really helps them to unwind and have a good time? What really makes them laugh? Do you know those things about the people that are closest to you? And really be able to take care of them well. These are really important if you're people in your small group, people in your teams, like your ministry team at church, you're leading a team of people, is really understanding what makes them feel loved and appreciated and happy. Do they really love to be complimented with words? Do they really like some one-on-one time with you? What makes them feel really important, valued, and special? Because it's different for everyone. Everyone's just a little bit different. And really asking questions. All of these rungs take a lot of work. Have you noticed that? As you kind of think about these questions and the people maybe they're close to you, it takes a lot of work. And some of these rungs you might actually stay at for a long time. As you're building friendships with your friends, it's okay to stay at a rung actually for the rest of your life. You will not get to every rung of the ladder with everybody. And that's totally fine. Some people will just stay on the, can we be friends? You'll just be awesome friends. But then there's other people that you'll find out, wow, we really have a lot in common. We really have this connection that we can really become close and really be people that speak powerfully into each other's lives. And then the last one is, seventh one is, do we understand covenant? So we've been talking a lot about covenant, that lifetime commitment, saying, you know what, I want to be your friend. I want to love you and support you for the rest of my life. I want to do life with you. And I'm not going to just leave because I get hurt, because you're disappointed in me, because I'm getting tired of trying to figure out how to take care of your needs. But you're like, I really want to. I really feel called to walk by your side. That could be marriage, or that could be like a ministry relationship where you just feel like, you know what, I feel we're called to do ministry together. And that's something, there's a call in our house to do that, to say, hey, I'm called here to Word Life Center, to these people. Like, I feel called to this house. And God might lead us on other places at some time, but there's connections here that I know I will have for the very rest of my life. If you will have it. From my side, anyway. Yes. So, that's covenant. I really want this for the rest of my life. I'm going to work at this, even when it feels really hard and I feel really hurt. I'm going to keep working at it. I'm going to keep talking. I'm going to keep talking it through. Every step on this ladder takes an incredible amount of talking. And even if you feel like I'm still on the first level of trying to just let people know where I am and how I'm feeling, that's okay. Then work with all your might on that. I'm going to be honest and let people know if I'm doing well, if I'm not doing well. I really love the idea of building these kind of relationships of trust. And as we're going up these ladders, some of us get more, as we're going up the rungs, some of us get really excited about these close, intimate, having these relationships of trust, and we get really excited. And we try to talk people into, come on, come up to the next rung. Come on, I'm ready. Come on. But if the other person is not ready, you will violate everything. You will violate that trust by pushing and manipulating somebody up to a rung if they're not ready. So that's really important for us to know. Even as you're all becoming ministers and you're all building trust with people and loving people well, is to really never use your emotions to try to pull somebody up to a rung that they're not ready to go to. Let people decide when they want to move up a rung. Even though you're totally excited about them and you're like, oh, I want to do covenant with you. Is let them decide. Let them go up rungs as they feel they're ready to. And then they'll trust you. They really will trust you. And sometimes we find ourselves I've gone up to a rung and I realize, you know what, I skipped this rung. I thought we really had God in our God spot, and now we're having a lot of arguments because we're really disappointed in our expectations of each other. So all you do is say, you know what, maybe you already made a covenant, promise. Maybe you already said, yeah, we're in covenant together, we're doing this. But maybe you say, you know what, I really thought God was in our God spot, and we passed that rung. But you know what, you just say, let's go back to that rung. Let's go back to that rung, and let's work on that part again. But it kind of gives you a clear way to communicate so you both know where you're at. Instead of a lot of, I don't know why we're fighting all the time. I don't know why this keeps happening. Conflicts are very cyclical, if you ever notice that. Do you kind of find yourself having the same argument over and over again sometimes? And if you kind of look at this ladder, you can say, you know what, which rung on this ladder do we need to go to revisit and find out where we need to talk through something? Because somewhere we're not matching up. Somewhere we're not on the same page. So let's talk it out until we get on the same page. And let's bring other people into this conversation. Let's bring somebody from church or somebody we trust into this conversation to talk about why we keep getting stuck here. What are we having a problem with that we can't get unstuck from this place? there's a verse. Would we be able to go to that verse in Acts? In Acts, chapter 4? Verse 32. All the believers were one in heart and mind. No one claimed that any of their possessions were their own, but they shared everything that they had. That sounds like a huge ball of trust. Huge. The believers in Acts were just wild with trust and wild with loving each other. And when they did that, the power of God just came like crazy. They would meet in a room. The Bible, a little earlier in Acts, it was that they met in a room, and this is after the Pentecost. They were meeting in a room in one mind and one heart, and the Spirit of God fell, and the building trembled. Like this was regular occurrence. They were so excited about each other and God. They had so much trust in their God that he was really taking care of them, that they could actually say, they could hold their possessions loosely and say, how about I take care of you? Because God's going to take such a good care of me that it's okay if I let this loose and take care of you. And this is when the power of God falls. The power of God doesn't fall so much when we're stingy and isolated and alone. And do you ever notice the power of God does not fall so much? But when we're together and we're saying, I trust you, that you love me, that you want the best for me, and I trust God, that he's taking good care of me every second. And you know what? We're in one heart and one mind, that we love God. Power of God just falls. And we're going to see such an increase of the power of God just in us as we take any bit of this and say, you know what can I do? What can I do to become a person who carries trust? We don't have to go to the tallest rung of the ladder with every person, but we can begin to build trust with people where they feel so safe with us. Do you ever see, I love looking up, when people are up on the roof of a building, do you ever just feel like, I just want to be up there? It's so fun to be up higher, isn't it? It's so fun. You see people on the roof, like, I want to be up there. God put something in us to always want to go higher, to be higher, to have a new perspective, to see things from like glorious perspective. And I know it's scary to be on a roof that's like slanted. I know. I learned that at Janine's. We were doing Janine's roof. I'm like, I love to work hard and do everything. I was like, we went up on top of Janine's roof, and I'm like, oh, I don't trust myself up here. I'm going down. But it's so fun to be up high and look down and see get the big picture, the big perspective of what God's doing. When we trust God and we trust each other, we get that big perspective on what God's doing. We get that like eagle eyes view of like, this is what God's doing. He's actually really meeting our needs. And he wants to use me to meet some people's needs. So what if I would come to church and say, how can I meet somebody's need today? What if I look for a need, and how can I meet it? How can I begin to learn my brothers and sisters so well that I know what they're needing? And I know what's going to bless them. And I take the time to actually do it. What a powerful church experience that would be. And I know a lot of you do this already and do it well. But there's such a power in that. I love when the power of God falls on us. I love when the glory of God falls on us. I love when we take care of each other and love each other and become like a safe family for each other. So, powerful relationships. I want you all to know that you each belong in one. You each belong in a powerful, trusting relationships. Nobody was created to not belong in that kind of relationship. And I know it might take time to get there, and it's going to take a lot of work to get there, and it might take a lot of input. If you really, anybody who feels like, I really would like to become that kind of person who can have those powerful, trusting circles of trust relationships, start asking the people around you for feedback. If there's anything that you're doing that's causing people to not feel safe, if there's anything you're doing that's making other people feel uncomfortable, or that's something you're not ready for yet, and just start working at one little small thing. Start working at one little small thing. But people love to be around people that they know are going to keep them safe. It's like, I just know in this house, one of my jobs is to help people feel safe. Simple as not sharing with other people what people have shared with me in confidence. Something as simple as that. Because that's something people say, I can trust you with, that I have a struggle, and you're not just going to go around and start telling everybody about it. Something so simple. And I'm actually going to follow up with you and keep asking you, how are you doing with that? How are you doing with that? I know you can do it. And start encouraging people that they trust over your consistent success, and checking in with people and saying, I care about what you need. People will start feeling that. When they see you, they'll be like, she really wants to meet my need. She really wants to encourage me. She really cares about what I'm going through. And you become that person you become a minister instead of just, I'm here. I'm here. Nobody really cares about me. I'm just here. But you actually start becoming someone that people will want to be around. They'll enjoy being around you. So if that's something you feel like, yeah, I want to become that person, then today you're on your way. Yeah. You're on your way. You're on your way. So if you always stand with me, I'm just going to bless you guys. We're going to be done a couple of minutes early. Stand with me. Just going to bless you guys. So, Holy Spirit, we just receive what you have for us right now, and we say, Holy Spirit, would you just come and fall upon us? We want to become people that carry trust. We want to become people that carry care for others, and people that are an oasis that people can come to and actually drink refreshment from. That you have really powerful, safe relationships for us. And you know what? It can start with us, God. It doesn't matter if we weren't shown that. It can start with us. So right now we say, yes, God, we'll be pioneers of building a culture of trust. We'll be pioneers. We'll be the people who say, yes, we're going to build this kind of a family and this kind of a community where others will be excited to come to, where others will feel really safe here. Other people will come and feel really taken care of. So thank you, Father, in Jesus' name. Amen.